Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was the hope of the Senju clan. What if instead of Kushina being Naruto's mother, and through a trick of fate Naruto's mother was Tsunade after a drunken night with Minato in which Naruto becomes both the heir and hope of the Senju clan. Find out what life would be like now for Naruto. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 15 Wave. The Hokage Office. Several days after the events with the fire daimyo's wife, Naruto along with his senseis Kushina and Yamato were called in by the Hokage for a mission. "You called for us, Hokage-sama," spoke Yamato after he, Kushin and Naruto entered the room. "Yes, I did, thank you all for coming so quickly." "So, what is it that you need us for, Hokage-sama?" asked Kushina. "I called you all here because I've an important mission that I need you for." At hearing this, Naruto immediately got excited as he was getting pretty tired of all these D-rank missions, and wanted to do something a little more exciting, where he could put the results of his training with Kushina and Yamato to use. Kushina and Yamato of course remained a little more sober, as they knew there was more to this than a simple mission, given how serious the Hokage was. "And what exactly is the mission, Hokage-sama?" asked Yamato. "The mission involves sending you to Nami no Kuni, Wave Country, and support Kakashi and his team on their mission in helping to protect a bridge builder named Tsunade," answered Sarutobi. At hearing this, Kushina raised her eyebrow in curiosity. "Excuse me, Hokage-sama, but why are you sending us to support Kakashi and his team on a mission that is clearly a C-rank mission?" "Surely Kakashi can handle anything that could happen in a C-rank mission," spoke Kushina. "Normally I would agree with you, Kushina, but this is not your ordinary C-rank mission, for you see, it seems that the client Tsunade lied to us when he requested our assistance," replied the old Hokage. "How so, Hokage-sama?" asked Yamato. "According to the message that Kakashi sent to me, it seems that Tsunade is being targeted by a man named Gato." "Gato? As in the wealthy shipping magnate and leader of the shipping company, Gato Corporation?" asked Kushina. "The very same, although from what recent intelligence has told me, Gato's export and import business is actually a front for smuggling illegal goods and selling drugs. This has resulted in Gato becoming one of the richest men in the world as a result." At this, Kushina, Yamato and Naruto all nodded their heads in understanding, after which Naruto then spoke up. "But how is he involved with this mission, Gigi?" asked Naruto. "Well, seemingly, Gato has set up his headquarters in Nami no Kuni, as the country is in a key position for sea trade between Hai no Kuni, Fire Country, and most of the other island nations. He then used his monopoly over shipping to take control of the country's economy, which is allowing him to slowly take control of the country itself. But Tsunade is threading all this with the bridge that he is building to connect Nami no Kuni to the mainland, which would destroy Gato's monopoly over Nami no Kuni. Hence, he has hired a group of Nukenins to eliminate Tsunade," spoke the Sandaime. If that is true, Hokage-sama, why didn't he tell the truth? "Where we could have sent a team more suited for the mission than a team of genin and their sensei," spoke Yamato. "Seemingly from Kakashi's message to Tsunade-san, and his people have spent most of their remaining money on the equipment and materials needed to build the bridge, and did not have much left to request a higher rank mission, hence why he lied when he requested our help." "So, what did Kakashi go against on the mission to make him call for backup?" asked Kushina, as she knew Kakashi was no pushover, and it would have to be something dangerous for him to need help. "Well, it seems that when Kakashi and his team were traveling to Nami no Kuni, they were ambushed by the Oni Kyodai, demon brothers, Gozu and Meizu. Kakashi and his team easily dispatched them and left them to be arrested by our forces, after sending word of what happened. Upon which he and his team then continue on with the mission, but after they landed on Nami no Kuni they encountered Momochi Zabuza, the famed Kirigakure no Kijin, demon of the hidden mist." Upon hearing this, the eyes of Yamato, Kushina suddenly widen, as they had both heard of the infamous Nukenin of Kiri. Even Naruto had heard of the former member of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shishininshu, the 7 shinobi swordsman of the mist, who had led a failed revolt against the Yondaime Mizukage, and was forced to flee afterwards. Naruto only knew about him since his mother had made certain that he knew all the high-ranked Nukenins in the bingo books on the chance that he encountered one. The demon of the hidden mist, no wonder Kakashi called for backup, muttered Kushina to herself. You need not worry about Zabuza, as Kakashi reported that he defeated him, thanks to the help of his team, after which Zabuza was killed by a hunter nin who had been tracking Zabuza, spoke Sarutobi. This of course surprised the 3 shinobi, especially Naruto, since he knew that the only way that Sasuke and the others could have helped Kakashi in any way would be if they worked together. This of course was surprising, since he didn't think Sasuke would work with his teammates, let alone that they all could work together to begin with. But if Zabuza is dead, why do we need to support Kakashi team? Asked Naruto. Although Zabuza is dead, we don't know for certain that he and the demon brothers were the only ones that Gato hired to take out Tsunade. This is why I sending you all to support him and Team 7, since after his battle, Kakashi was left gravely weakened, and even with Zabuza dealt with, who was most likely the greatest threat, Kakashi will be in no shape to defend Tsunade for a while, answered the Sandaime. At this the 3 shinobis nodded again in understanding, although Yamato suddenly spoke up again. If I may, Hokage-sama, why are you sending us on this mission, as surely this would be something for a more senior team? Asked Yamato. Normally I would do so, but unfortunately our forces are spread rather thin, where if I were to send a more senior team, it would weaken our defensives, which is why I'm sending you 3. I have no doubt that whatever happens on this mission you and Kushina can handle it with Kakashi's help. While Naruto, as you both know, is already a skilled shinobi who can hold his own in most situations, not to mention he is also skilled in medical ninjutsu thanks to his mother's training, where he can help Kakashi recover more quickly. Also, Naruto already has some experience in combat thanks to the incident in Oni no Kuni, Demon Country, so I've no doubt he will be of help, whatever happens. After hearing this Yamato only nodded, upon which Kushina and Naruto left the room to pack for their mission, where 2 hours later they left the village and headed for Nami no Kuni. 3 days later, near Tsunade home. After 3 days of traveling from Konoha to Nami no Kuni, Naruto and his senseis arrived at Nami no Kuni, where they entered the nearby village. When they arrived at the village, they found it in an appalling state, where most of the people were in tattered, ragged clothes, with sorrowful looks on their faces, as if their spirits had been broken. The children were even in worse shape than the adults, as they were all skinny and dirty with tattered clothes, and just sitting on the ground, with blank looks on their faces. When Naruto saw this, he could not help but become angry at seeing all this, as he knew that Gato was responsible for all these people suffering. Soon enough though they found a person who directed them to where Tsunade home was. When they arrived at the gate, they all sensed a familiar presence nearby watching them, but before any of them could call to the person to come out, the person in question jumped out in front of them from a nearby tree. When the person appeared in front of them, Naruto and his 2 senseis saw that the person that had been watching them was Sai, who had been keeping guard of the house in case of any sneak attack. Greetings, so you're the ones who the Hokage has sent to assist us, spoke Sai. Correct, could you please bring us to Kakashi-senpai, spoke Yamato, where Sai just nodded and led them into the house. When Yamato, Kushina and Naruto followed Sai into the house, they saw a young woman in a small kitchen cooking what most likely was evening dinner for the group. They then saw an old man, who was most likely the bridge builder Tsunade, sitting at a table drinking sake. While sitting in the far corner was Sasuke with his eyes closed, only to open them when Naruto and his senseis entered the house. When Naruto and his group arrived, the young woman in the kitchen quickly turned around and smiled. Oh. New arrivals, are these the people that Kakashi-san said would arrive to help? Indeed, we are, replied Yamato. At hearing this, the woman's smile grew. Then you've our gratitude. My name is Tsunami. It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Yamato. This is my partner Uzumaki Kushina, and this is our student Senju Naruto. It is very nice to meet you all. Please make yourselves at home. I will prepare some more things for dinner, spoke Tsunade. That is very kind of you, thank you, spoke Kushina respectfully. Humph. Another brat. But at least this time they sent some people that might actually be of some help to us, spoke the slightly drunk bridge builder. At hearing Tsunade calling him brat, Naruto scowled. I suggest you be more grateful, you old fart, as it was brats like me that helped save your sorry ass earlier. Retorted Naruto, remembering the Hokage report of what happened with Kakashi and his team. When Sasuke heard this, he could not help but smirk at Naruto putting the old drunk in his place, as he had received such similar remark from Tsunade when he and his team first met him. At hearing this, Tsunade scowled at Naruto's remark, but before he could retort back, Naruto continued. Besides that, you should also be grateful that our village even sent us to help you, as our Hokage could have easily just called Kakashi-sensei and his team back, like most shinobi villages would. Especially after you lied to our village about the dangers of the mission, and put Kakashi-sensei and his team in danger and nearly got them killed. Tsunade was of course taken back by Naruto's response, and as much as he hated to admit it, Naruto had a point and was indeed correct, as he nearly did get Kakashi and his team killed, because he held back information from them and lied to them. But even still, he was a stubborn old man and wouldn't back down in argument, especially to someone Naruto's age. Thankfully though, before an argument could break out between them, Tsunade placed her hand gentle on her father's shoulder, stopping her father from making the argument go any further. Yamato also did the same, by placing his hand on Naruto's shoulder, calming the hot-headed young blonde from fighting with Tsunade anymore. Please forgive my father, he gets rather moody when he is drunk, spoke Tsunade, as she apologized for her father's remark. Of course, and allow me to apologize for my student, as he can be rather hot-headed at times, replied Yamato. Tsunade of course nodded, after which Kushina asked where Kakashi was, where Tsunade pointed to the room next to them, indicating that Kakashi was in there. When they entered the room, the team found Kakashi lying flat on his back, with a blanket over him and Sakura sitting next to him, making sure that he was okay. When Kakashi heard the door to his room opening, he lifted his head up slightly to look up to see who was entering the room. When he saw that it was Yamato, Kushina and Naruto, along with Sasuke and Sai, who had followed Naruto and his senseis, he greeted them and gave them his tradition one-eyed eye smiles, while keeping his Sharingan eye closed. After entering the room, Naruto then began to do his checkup on Kakashi to see the extent of his injuries, which were remarkably minor, much to Naruto's surprise. As he expected a great deal more damage from Kakashi, after he fought and defeated the infamous demon of the hidden mist. Well, Kakashi-sensei, your injuries aren't as bad as I thought they would be, and I healed them all, but your main problem is that you're suffering from chakra exhaustion, most likely from using your Sharingan for a prolonged period, correct? Stated Naruto. As Jiraiya had told him a while back, that due to the fact that he wasn't an Uchiha and didn't possess the Sharingan naturally, Kakashi couldn't turn off his Sharingan, nor could he use it for long periods as it drained too much of his chakra. Kakashi of course just nodded as what Naruto said was correct. Well, I'm afraid there is little I can do there, as it's best to let your body rest and recovery by itself, so as long as you don't do anything too strenuous and keep resting, you should recover in a couple of days' time, stated Naruto, where Kakashi just nodded again. Once Naruto had finished his checkup on Kakashi, Kushina then spoke up, so Kakashi, why don't you tell what happened in detail with you and Zabuza? Kakashi of course complied with his former senior ANBU captain question, and began to describe in detail what happened between him and Zabuza. Throughout the explanation, Kakashi told them how he had fought Zabuza and was tricked and trapped by him in a Suiro no Jutsu water prison technique, where he only to escape thanks to Sai and Sasuke working together to free him. Kakashi, where Sai used his Choju Giga, Super Beast's imitation picture, to create several ink birds, which distracted Zabuza, allowing Sasuke to fire a barrage of shurikens and kunai at Zabuza, forcing him to move and freeing Kakashi, who re-engaged Zabuza and defeated him. But before Kakashi could finish him off, a Hunter Nin arrived and stabbed Zabuza in the neck with some Senbon needles. Using Senbon needles, that's an unusual choice of weapon for a Hunter Nin, commented Kushina. At hearing this, Naruto began to frown, as something didn't settle with him. Kakashi-sensei, do you know where exactly the hunter needs hit Zabuza with the senbon needles in his neck? Kakashi nodded, where he then indicated on his neck with his hand, where exactly the senbon needles hit Zabuza. When Kakashi showed Naruto where Zabuza was hit in the neck with the needles, he frowned, as Kakashi confirmed what he feared. Zabuza isn't dead, spoke Naruto suddenly, gaining everyone's attention. What do you mean, Senju? Of course, Zabuza dead, we saw it with our own eyes, spoke Sasuke. What you saw was what Zabuza wanted you to think, replied Naruto. What do you mean by that? Asked Sakura, not getting what Naruto meant. It's simple, like Kushina-sensei said, senbon needles are an unusual choice of weapon for a hunter nin to use. But they're a perfect weapon for a medic nin like me, especially if you want to do something to someone's body without doing any serious harm. From the points that Kakashi-sensei indicated, Zabuza was put in a near-death state by the hunter nin, where Zabuza's heart rate was slowed down to a point where it can be barely felt, even if you checked for it. When Kakashi heard this, he felt like he could slap himself, or he would have if he could, as he couldn't believe he had forgotten that or hadn't noticed it earlier. Kakashi-sensei, is what Naruto's saying true? Is Zabuza really alive? Asked Sakura with some worry, at the idea of Zabuza still being alive. I'm afraid so, Sakura, as what Naruto said is indeed true, not to mention another fact that I didn't notice earlier, where the hunter nin did not cut Zabuza's head off when he killed him. As a hunter nin is to decapitate his or her target on the spot, and then destroy the body, so that there is no chance of enemies learning any secrets of the village from the body. While the head is used to prove that the target has been eliminated, spoke Kakashi, cursing himself for not seeing it sooner. It seems that you're losing your touch, Kakashi, spoke Kushina. You might be right, Kushina-senpai, replied Kakashi with a sigh. Clearly the hunter nin was in league with Zabuza, where he watched your battle in case Zabuza lost, so that he would intervene and save Zabuza before you could kill him, and you would believe that he is dead. Giving Zabuza the chance to attack you when your guard is down, spoke Yamato, where he had to admit it was a clever ploy, which could fool most people. Naruto himself also had to admit that the fake hunter nin was also very skilled, maybe as skilled if not more skilled than him, as it would take keen knowledge on the human anatomy. Not to mention to be highly skilled in senbon needles, to precisely hit the small points on Zabuza's neck with just the right amount of force and put him in the near-death state, while at the same time, doing it all without killing or permanently paralyzing Zabuza. Well, there is a bit of good news, spoke Naruto, gaining everyone's attention again. Which would be? Asked Sai. Well, Zabuza won't be able to make any kind of attack on us for a little while, as the side effects of putting someone in the near-death-like state is that the person will be unable to fully move their body for some time, answered Naruto. How much time would we have exactly? Asked Yamato. Well, given the injuries he suffered after fighting Kakashi-sensei, along with being put in the death-like state, I would say just over 2 weeks, but if the hunter nin is as a skilled medic as I think he is, given how he saved Zabuza, I would cut that recovery time in half, and given the time that has already passed, we only got a couple of days. After hearing this, Kakashi, Yamato and Kushina frowned, as that didn't give them much time to plan what to do. Sakura, of course, began to worry, while Sai remained emotionless, and Sasuke actually looked eager at the idea of going against Zabuza again. Well, it seems that we have quite the situation here, and if we want to survive it, we're going to have to make you guys even stronger, spoke Kushina, as she looked at the members of Team 7. At hearing this, Sasuke actually looked even more eager than before, especially at the idea at becoming stronger. Very well then, we'll start training tomorrow, spoke Yamato, after which the Konoha group began to talk over what they would do tomorrow, right up until they were called by Tsunade for dinner. The next morning, in a small clearing in the woods of Nami no Kuni, the members of Team 7 along with Kushina, Naruto and Yamato prepared to do some training. When they were planning on what to train Team 7 in last night, Naruto and his senseis learned that Kakashi had yet to teach Sasuke and the others tree climbing. This of course surprised Yamato, as tree climbing should have been taught in the second week of taking in a team, or at the very least before the team took on a C-rank mission. Kushina of course rebuked Kakashi for not teaching his students something so basic and important sooner. Kakashi of course tried to explain that he had been busy training to get his team to work together. Normally such excuses would not work, but when considering how badly the members of Team 7 were getting along with one another, and how until only a few days ago couldn't work together, Yamato and Kushina could understand where Kakashi was coming from, but even still, Kushina did reprimanded Kakashi for not teaching his team simple tree climbing before they took this mission. Kakashi himself was back at Tsunade home, where Tsunade made sure he did nothing too strenuous so that he could rest and recover more quickly. Normally this would be no problem for Kakashi, as he would use such time to read one of his Ika books. But sadly, when Naruto was doing his checkup on Kakashi, he took the book from Kakashi, stating that he needed to focus more on recovering than on reading his book. Although Naruto also stated that he was taking Kakashi's book as punishment for not training his students in tree climbing before they took the mission. Well now, since we're all here and we know what we're going to do for the next few days, I believe we should give a demonstration of how exactly tree climbing is done. Naruto, would you care to show them how it's done? Spoke Kushina, as she then turned to Naruto. Naruto of course nodded, where he started to channel his chakra to his feet, while explaining it all to Sasuke and the others. Once he had finished explaining to the others on what to do, he then simply walked up the tree and up to a large thick branch on a high part of the tree. Seeing this, both Sasuke and Sakura looked surprised at this, as neither of them had seen anything like what Naruto was doing before. Sai on the other hand remained as emotionless and as blank as always, not showing the slightest sign of surprise. After Naruto had shown them what to do, he quickly jumped down to the ground, upon which Kushina then told the three other genin to attempt it as well. The three genin of course nodded, and where they each took their own individual trees and channeled their chakra to their feet and attempted to walk up the tree. Sakura was able to walk up the tree she had chosen on the first attempt with no difficulty, which was of course no surprise to Kushina, Yamato, as they had read Sakura's academy report, where it showed that much like Naruto, she had flawless control over her chakra. Sasuke on the other hand was having difficulty climbing the tree, where each time after only taking a few steps, he would fall to the ground, whether it was from streaming too much or too little chakra to his feet, to keep himself on the tree. Sai also seemingly had the same problem as Sasuke, where he kept adding too much chakra to too little, although Naruto believed he was doing it on purpose, so to stay close to Sasuke and keep an eye on him. Naruto guessed this, since he highly doubted that Danzo wouldn't have already trained Sai to do the tree climbing exercise. Yamato and Kushina were of course of similar minds as Naruto, as they had heard from the Sandaime that Sai was a spy belonging to Danzo. Seeing that Sakura could already do the tree climbing practice, Kushina decided that she would send Naruto and Sakura to guard Tsunade, while he and his men built the bridge. Both genins of course nodded, as having no problem in doing what Kushina asked them to, where they left together for the bridge. Soon after, Yamato left to head back and guard Tsunade's family, in case Gato's men tried to kidnap them and force Tsunade to submit, while leaving Kushina to watch over Sasuke and Sai. Next day at Tsunade home. After another day, the members of Team 7 along Naruto and his senseis were sitting down around the small table in the living room with Tsunade family, eating dinner. Also, among the group was Kakashi, who was now well enough to move around a little, and Inari, Tsunade's grandson, who mainly kept to himself. Naruto and Sakura had spent much of the day guarding Tsunade and his workers as they worked on the bridge. Naruto even helped a bit where he created clones to help the workers build the bridge. Yamato had also kept guard over Tsunade and Inari as well as Kakashi, while he was recovering. Kushina also kept watched over Sai and Sasuke as they trained in the tree climbing practice, where Sasuke was making good and steady progress, where he had already gotten halfway up the tree before falling. Sai was also at the same level, but Kushina guessed he was only doing that so that he could keep an eye on Sasuke for as long as possible. Throughout the past few days Inari had kept his distance from Naruto and all the others, Naruto, Sakura, as well as Kushina had each tried to befriend or talk to the young boy. But each time any of them tired, he would yell at them to go away, and would then run away crying. When they asked what was wrong with Inari, Tsunade went on to explain the sad story involving Inari's stepfather Kaiza, who had tried to stand up to Gato and his goons, but was beaten and executed in front of everyone by Gato's men. As they all ate dinner together, Sakura decided to try and start a conversation and ask Kushina how Sasuke and Sai were doing in their training. Kushina of course answered saying that they were both making progress, but neither of them had reached the top. As Sakura and Kushina continued to talk, Inari suddenly spoke out. "Why are all even bothering? You're all going to die anyway, none of you can beat Gato, he's too strong." After hearing this, Sasuke frowned at Inari's little rant and was about to retort about how a weakling like him wouldn't know anything about them, but before he could, Naruto suddenly spoke up. "Don't act like you know anything about us, brat, as we're a lot stronger than you think we are and we've no intention of dying to scum like Gato," replied Naruto. "No, you wrong. You're all going to die, as you've no idea what's it's like for us here, no one can beat Gato," cried the young boy. At this Naruto just frowned further, at hearing how Inari telling them all that it was useless and that they were all going to die. Naruto of course despised people like Inari, who gave up on something without even trying, and let bullies like Gato walk all over them and others. "You're right, I don't know what's it like to live under Gato's rule, but I sure as hell know that your stepfather Kaiza is probably turning over in his grave as we speak, at seeing how much of a whining crybaby and coward you've become. Your grandfather is risking his life right now trying to build this bridge, all because he wants to save this country, and give you a better life. While you're just sitting there crying, telling everyone it's hopeless, and that they should give up without even trying yourself," retorted Naruto harshly. When Naruto said this, Inari quickly broke into tears and then ran off the next room, where Naruto just scoffed, after which he stood up from the table and began to walk out the front door. "Naruto!" spoke out Yamato when he saw his student getting up from the table, as he was about to rebuke Naruto for losing his temper with Inari. But when he spoke out to him, Naruto ignored Yamato and continued to walk out of the house. "Naruto, where are you going?" asked Yamato, where Naruto simply replied out before shutting the door behind him. Yamato was of course going to follow after him, but was stopped by Kushina, who placed her hand on his shoulder. "Easily there, Yamato, leave him be, he come back when he cools off a bit." Yamato of course just nodded, knowing that Kushina was right, after which he turned to Tsunade. "Please accept my apologies for my student's outburst towards your son, as he can be rather hot-headed at times." Tsunade of course nodded in acceptance. "It is alright, Yamato-san, as Inari can be rather difficult at times, ever since my husband's death, as it had an awful effect on him. But even still that did not excuse him for what he said, so I hope you can accept my apologies as well." Yamato naturally accepted Tsunade's apology, although was still planning to have a talk to Naruto about controlling his temper better. Deciding to change the subject a bit, Tsunade decided to ask Yamato something that he had been wondering for a while. "If you don't mind me asking, but I've been wondering, why is it that kid has you two as his senseis? Why isn't he on a team like this group?" asked Tsunade as he indicated towards Kakashi in Team 7. "Naruto is a special case, where due to certain abilities he has, Kushina-senpai and I were assigned to help train in him. Although another reason why we were assigned to train him was also to help protect him as well," answered Yamato. "Protect him? But why?" asked Tsunade. "You see, Naruto is the heir to the Senju clan, who were the main founders of our village, and were said to be the strongest shinobi clan in the world. Naruto is also the descendant of both our Shodame Hokage and Nidame Hokage, who led the building of Konoha. Not only that, but Naruto is also the son of Senju Tsunade, the Slug Princess, credited of being the greatest medic and strongest kunoichi in the world, and is a member of the Densetsu no Sannin, the 3 legendary ninjas. The 3 strongest shinobis that our village has ever produced," spoke Kushina. "So, the kid is basically like royalty in your village, since he the descendant of your village's first 2 leaders, and is the heir to the clan that founded your village, replied Tsunade. One could look at it that way, but the reason as to us protecting him isn't for what you may think. For you see, as I said, Naruto has certain unique abilities that make him a special case, ones that if certain people found out that he had them, they would hunt him down relentlessly. Also, being the heir of the Senju clan and the descendant of both the Shodame and the Naidame Hokages, along with being the son Tsunade, puts a very large target on Naruto's head, once the rest of the world learns of him. For many groups and rival villages would target Naruto, either due to grudges they may have against Naruto's mother or his clan, or because of the potential threat he represents to them once he is older, stated Yamato before he continued. It's because of these reasons that Naruto had to start training to be a shinobi at a very young age, so that he would have a chance of surviving later on in his life, when those who would target him come after him. Also, it because of these threats that Naruto had to grow up constantly on the move with his mother, so that no one could discover him. This also resulted in Naruto growing up with very few friends. Also, when he was 7, Naruto had to kill an enemy shinobi in self-defense, when the shinobi attacked Naruto and a young girl that he was defending. Naturally, after hearing the last part about Naruto, everyone in the room gasped in surprise, minus Kushina and Kakashi, who already knew about that event. You mean that kid actually had to kill a person when he was just 7? Asked Tsunade, his surprise as he found it hard to believe. Yes, although it was unintentionally, I can assure you, replied Yamato. I guess the kid has it harder than I thought, muttered Tsunade, as he felt kind of bad for Naruto. Tsunade, of course, was not the only one, as Sakura felt equally as bad, as she doubted she could have dealt with the fact that she had killed a person if she had been in Naruto's shoes. Even Sasuke felt somewhat sympathetic towards what happened to Naruto when he was 7. Indeed, which is why I believe that Naruto acted so harshly towards your grandson. As to Naruto, giving up without even trying to defend the people you care about, goes against everything he'd been raised to believe in, spoke Yamato. As everyone in the living room thought over what they had heard, Inari, who had been silently listening to the conversation, also mulled over what he had heard, where he could not help but remember what his stepfather Kaiza told him. If something is truly important to you, even it's heartbreaking, even if it's sorrowful, you keep on trying and trying, even if you lose your life, you keep on protecting it with these 2 arms. Then, even if you die, you leave behind the proof that you are a man, forever. Tu-chan, what do I do? What would you do? Thought Inari sorrowfully, as a tear fell down his already tear-stained face. Next morning in Zabuza's hideout. Currently sitting beside Zabuza's bedside, as he recovered from his battle with Kakashi, was Zabuza apprentice Haku, who had been treating Zabuza's wounds for the past few days. Haku had also been protecting him as well from Gato, who had appeared yesterday with his two wannabe samurai goons Zori and Waraji. When Gato tried to touch Zabuza, when he was in his weakened state, Haku had broken his arm, and then quickly subdued Zori and Waraji. When he left, Gato had stated that Haku would pay for breaking his arm. As Zabuza lay on his bed, Haku saw the light of the early morning sun shine through the window. Seeing that Zabuza was still sleeping and due to the early hour, where no one would be up, Haku decided to get more herbs to treat Zabuza's injuries. Quickly changing into a pink sleeveless, low-cut kimono, with pale red edges and decorated with small plum-colored swirls, Haku began to silently walk out of the room. But before Haku could leave, a now awake Zabuza suddenly spoke up. "Where are you going, Haku?" After hearing Zabuza's voice, Haku quickly spun around. "Forgive me for waking you, Zabuza-sama, it wasn't my intent to wake you, I was only going out to gather herbs to help treat your injuries." "Humph. Fine, just don't be too long," replied Zabuza, before he closed his eyes again, when Haku nodded and left the room. After an hour and a half, Haku had gathered all the necessary herbs that would be needed to help heal Zabuza, but just before Haku could start heading back, the young Hayatan, Ice Release, user noticed several trees that had been seemingly cut down. Deciding to investigate further, Haku walked up to where the cut trees were, upon which Haku then came upon a large clearing, where there were several more trees that had been cut down by seemingly a single cutting slash. After studying under a former member of the Kiri no Shino Bigatana Shishininshu, Haku of course knew a little about swordsmanship. Hence Haku knew that whoever did it had some skill to be able to cut down a large tree with a single slash. Looking more around the clearing, Haku noticed that there were several large dents on the ground, as if being punched by someone or thing. Haku also noticed that there were several large dried patches of grass and flowers, where they all seemed to be brown and shriveled up, as if all the moisture had been drained from them. It was after seeing this that Haku noticed that there was a person lying on the ground among a large patch of flowers in the clearing. As Haku looked closer, it almost seemed like the flowers were thriving around him, as if the flowers were growing stronger from being next to him. Once Haku came up to the person, Haku saw that the person in question was a young blonde-haired boy, holding a long katana in his hand. As well as wearing a black sleeveless vest with a green sleeveless zip-up top over it. He also wore green pants and black boots with green elbow pads and green fingerless gloves with S-bead-like bracelets on both his wrists. But what caught Haku's attention the most was the Konoha headband that was wrapped around the boy's head. A Konoha shinobi, but not one of the groups that Sabuza-sama met when he fought Hatake Kakashi. Did they call for reinforcements? If so, why did they send a young boy, as he looks no older than the genin from Kakashi's team? He must be with another team, and if so, there must be others, thought Haku with concern, as Kakashi was a dangerous enough opponent to face against. I must eliminate him here and now, as given the state of this area he clearly has some skill, and could be a danger to our mission, thought Haku further, and drew out a set of Senbon needles. But before Haku could make even an attempt on Naruto, the young Hayatan user heard a groan coming from Naruto, where his eyes began to slowly open. Seeing this, Haku quickly put away the Senbon needles before Naruto fully woke up. As Naruto was waking up, Haku spoke, "Are you alright?" "Ha!" spoke Naruto as he fully woke up, where he looked straight up at Haku. "Sorry, did you say something?" asked Naruto, as he rubbed the sleep out of his eye. "I said, are you alright? I saw you lying on the ground and I didn't know what was wrong with you," spoke Haku. "Oh sorry, I guess I must have fallen asleep when I took a break from training last night," replied Naruto, who was a little embarrassed. "You should be more careful, as if you sleep on the ground outside, you'll catch a cold or get sick," warned Haku. "Nah, I be alright, I've never gotten sick in a day in my life," said Naruto, which was true, as it helped to have the world's greatest medic as your mother, to keep you from getting sick. At this Haku just nodded and stood up. When Haku stood up, he noticed the basket full of herbs next to Haku. "Oh. Are you collecting healing herbs?" Slightly surprised at Naruto knowing that the herbs were for healing, Haku just nodded at first before speaking, "Yes I am, a friend of mine had an accident, and I was collecting some herbs to help heal him," answered Haku with a half-lie. Hearing this, Naruto just nodded, where he continued to look through the basket full of herbs. "You seem to have a good collection of herbs needed to heal injuries. Although there is one that you're missing that would be quite useful." "What would that be?" asked Haku, generally curious. "Here I show you, it's not a hard plant to find," spoke Naruto, where he led Haku to some trees and began looking for the plant. As they looked for the plant, Haku and Naruto got to talking. As the two talked, Haku asked Naruto a question. "Tell me, Naruto-san, how is it that you know so much about herbs for healing and medicine?" "Well, my mom is a medic, who taught me a lot about medical techniques, and my Nachon taught me about herbs, and how they were used for different types of injuries." Haku of course nodded in understanding, as it made sense, where the young Hayatan user also found it interesting. Soon enough though, Naruto found the herb that he was looking for and showed it to Haku. The plant itself was a small weed-like plant, with small white flowers top. "This is milfoil, it's an excellent herb for treating wounds and injuries, it's also a good digestive aid, for treating menstrual cramps, and is a mild sedative," spoke Naruto, after which he explained how to make it into medicine correctly. After showing Haku the plant, Naruto helped the young ice user to gather more of the weeds and place them in the basket. As they gathered the weeds, Naruto could not help but notice that despite her age, Haku was a very beautiful young girl. By just looking at her, Naruto knew she was maybe only a year or two older than him. Yet she was already extremely beautiful, showing that in a couple of years' time, when she has grown into full adulthood, the girl would most likely be a major knockout on the level, or Kurinai, or his mother. Naruto of course quickly got out of his staring when he heard Haku suddenly speaking to him. Tell me, Naruto-san, do you have anyone precious to you, someone you would want to protect? At this question, Naruto thought for a moment before answering. Yeah, I do. I have my Kaa-chan, my Ne-chan, our pet pig Tonton, my Gigi, even my perverted godfather Erosenin. At this Haku smiled a little, as it was clear at the way Naruto spoke about them that he cared for them all deeply. Why do you ask? Well, I believe that when a person has something important they want to protect, that's when they can become truly strong, replied Haku, where Naruto could not help agree. Soon enough Haku had gathered enough of the milfoil and decided to head back to Zabuza. I think I have enough now, thank you for your help, Naruto-san. It was nice talking to you, spoke Haku. It was nice talking to you, to Haku-chan. I hope your friend gets better soon, said Naruto, where he then shook hands with Haku. Haku of course just nodded, and then started to walk back towards Zabuza's hideout. As Naruto watched his new friend walk away, he soon saw Haku stop and turn around slightly. Oh, and Naruto-san, I think you should know I'm a boy, after which Haku continued on towards Zabuza's hideout, leaving a stunned Naruto behind. SSH she a he. I was actually attracted to a guy, cried Naruto in horror as his face turned deathly white when he realized this. I can't believe I was actually attracted to a boy, but he looked like a girl and even sounded like one. He must be one of those pretty boys Shizune-chan told me about, but I thought they were only a myth, ranted Naruto in his mind, as he felt like he wanted to have a shower. Not that he had anything against guys who like guys, it was just that he was straight. Sai or Sasuke might be those type of guys considering how they showed no interest in girls, but wasn't certain as considering the types of girls that were around them. But still Naruto could not help but be weirded out by what Haku said. He was also slightly grateful that his godfather wasn't around, as knowing Jiraiya, he teases Naruto to the end of days about it. Although then again, if Jiraiya really thought Naruto went for guys, he probably beat Naruto until he went straight, as he was certain that Jiraiya would not stand for a godson that went to the other side. At the same time, when Naruto was coming to terms to what Haku had said to him, the young ice user in question was walking slowly back to the hideout with a solemn look. I would prefer if you and I were to not meet again, Naruto-san. For the next time we meet, I fear we'll meet as enemies, something I would greatly dislike, as I would not want to fight someone like you, but I fear it is inevitable, and only one of us will most likely walk away. The next day in Tsunade house. Currently sitting around the living room table, after eating dinner, the 7 Konoha shinobis planned out what they were going to do next, since they knew that Zabuza would most likely recover in the next few days and attack. So, what exactly should we do? Asked Kakashi. Well, we can't just wait for him to attack whenever he wants, replied Kushina. Why not, since he doesn't know about you or Yamato-sensei, where together the two of you along with Kakashi-sensei could beat him, spoke Sakura. We can't be certain that Zabuza doesn't already known about us, as Gato could have people watching us, where he could have then told Zabuza about us, said Kushina. But we don't know that, replied Sakura. True, but it's always best to assume the worst situation, so that we can prepare for it, answered Yamato. But even if he does know about you three, it would still be all of us against him and his partner, spoke Sasuke. You're right about that, but even still you four are all just genin, and although you're all pretty skilled, you're still no match for someone like Zabuza, as any one of us would have trouble with him. Besides, we don't even know if Zabuza doesn't have more subordinates or partners with him. Not to mention as well, Zabuza is a master in using Serento Kiringu, soundless murder technique, in conjunction with Kirigakure no Jutsu, art of hiding in the mist, where he wouldn't have much difficulty using that to fight against all of us, which would put us at a disadvantage, spoke Kushina. So, what should we do, sensei? Asked Naruto. I think we should strike first at Zabuza, before he can recover, while at the same time take out Gato, since Zabuza would most likely be hidden someone near where Gato is, answered Kushina. But how do we even do that? As we don't know where they are? Asked Sai. Kakashi, can't we use your dog summons to track Zabuza? As I remember you saying that you found a piece of cloth that belonged to Zabuza, after you defeated him, spoke Kushina. I suppose that you could do that, but I do not think we should all go, as some of us should stay here in case Tsunade or his family is attacked by Gato or his men. Agreed, I believe Kushina and I would be enough, while the rest of you stay and protect Tsunade and his family, replied Yamato. The rest of the group of course agreed with the plan, believing it was the best thing to do, as it would be the best way to protect Tsunade and his family without endangering any of them. Hence it was decided that Kushina and Yamato would go and track down Zabuza tomorrow with Kakashi's dog summon Pakin. At Zabuza's hideout. Currently sitting up on his bed, the nearly recovered Zabuza was eating an apple, while Haku finished checking him to see if he'd fully recovered. It seems that you've just about regained your strength, Zabuza-sama, spoke Haku. Yes, and tomorrow we will strike at Kakashi and the bridge builder and kill them, spoke Zabuza. But what about the possible other team that I mentioned to you? Asked Haku. Given how the boy you met was just a genin, it just means we are dealing with another team of genins and their jonin sensei, which won't be too much trouble for us, as we'll crush them, spoke Zabuza as he crushed the apple in his hands. Next day at the bridge. Hold on, what the heck is going on here? What happened? Spoke Tsunade in surprise as he saw his workers, all on the ground, hurt and unable to move, as they groaned in pain from their injuries. Someone was here, someone got to them. Could it be? Thought Kakashi as he saw the injured men, but just as he was thinking of this, a thick mist began to roll in. This mist, thought Kakashi, before he quickly cried out to his students, where they took up a defensive stance around Tsunade. So, Naruto was right, he was alive. I guess he couldn't wait till round 2, but why did he have to attack now of all times, when Yamato and Kushina were away, thought Kakashi, as he kept his senses on alert. It's Zabuza, isn't sensei? Naruto was right about him still being alive, spoke Sakura. So, you knew I was alive. Sorry to keep you waiting, Kakashi, spoke Zabuza, as he stayed hidden in the mist. I see that you still have those brats around you. It looks like that one is still trembling, pitiful. It was after saying this that several Zabuzas suddenly appeared surrounding the group. Upon seeing this, Sasuke just smirked, which surprised Zabuza, I trembling with excitement. After hearing this, Zabuza just smirked, amused at what Sasuke had said. Go ahead, Sasuke, Sai, said Kakashi, knowing that his two students could handle this. Acknowledging the go-ahead from Kakashi, both Sai and Sasuke attacked. The two genin charged forward with impressive speed. Where within the space of only a few seconds, the two genin easily dispatched the Zabuzas that surrounded them, where they all reverted into clones. Not bad, it seems the brats are improving, and it seems that you've some rivals in speed, Haku, spoke Zabuza, as he and Haku appeared in front of Team 7. So, it seems, spoke Haku without an emotion. Well, so Naruto had it right, it was all an act, spoke Kakashi. An act? Asked Tsunade in surprise. Yes, and it was all done with a simple little mask. So, you mean to tell me that all that stuff that guy said about being a hunter and protecting his village was a bunch of bull? Asked Tsunade. Correct, replied Kakashi, and I'm willing to bet that those two have played this little trick a few times before. That mask guy is mine, I'm taking him out, spoke Sasuke with determination, where he and Haku then charged forward at one another. Tsunade home. At the same time that Team 7 and Kakashi were facing against Zabuza and Haku, Tsunade's daughter Tsunami was washing the dishes from breakfast. As she was washing the dishes, she suddenly heard the door opening. When she turned around, she saw Gato's two bodyguards Zori and Waraji entering the house. So, you're Tsunade's daughter, huh? Too bad for you, as you'll have to come with us, spoke Zori. Upon seeing them, Tsunami tried to run away, but she could not, as Zori quickly grabbed hold of her arm and pushed her into the nearby wall. Hearing his mother's screams and the sound of things breaking, Inari quickly ran into the living room to see what was happening. When Tsunade saw her son, she told him to run away. Seeing Inari, Waraji quickly grabbed hold of Inari and pushed him into the other side of the room opposite his mother. "Should we take this kid as well?" asked Waraji. "No, Gato's asked for just one hostage," replied his partner. When Inari heard this, he then realized that Gato wanted to use his mother as a hostage and force him to give up. "Well, that's fine by me. Let's waste him," said Waraji with a sadistic grin as he drew his katana out. "Wait, please don't hurt my son, he's just a boy, he hasn't done anything wrong. I do anything, just don't hurt him," spoke Tsunade. "Fine, then you will come with us," without any resistance said Zore before he turned to the Tiri and scared young Inari and smirked. "Guess it's your lucky day, kid, your mom just came through for you." After seeing his mother being tied up by Waraji and Zore and walking out the house with her, Inari began to cry even more and telling his mother that he was sorry over and over again, and how he couldn't, as he was too scared. But as he was crying, he began to remember what his stepfather told him, and what Naruto told him at the dinner table. Realizing that he could not just sit back and cry and let Waraji and Zore take his mother away, Inari knew he had to save his mother. As Waraji and Zore led Tsunade, Waraji turned around and cupped Tsunade's face, where he had a perverted-like grin. "Don't worry your pretty little head, we're going to treat you fine." "Come on Waraji, we don't have time for this," spoke Zore, but before they could walk on, the two men and Tsunade suddenly heard Inari from behind telling them to stop. When they turned around, they saw Inari coming out of the house charging straight at them. Seeing Inari charging at them, the two men just smirked unafraid at the young boy. "Boy! No Inari, don't, run away!" cried Tsunade, but after saying this Zore just hit her at the back of the head and knocked her out, not wanting to deal with her anymore. "Let's finish this," said Zore, as if he was bored, where he and his partner drew their katanas and charged straight at Inari and slashed at him. But just when they had slashed at Inari, he quickly turned into a log. "A Kawarini no Jutsu, body replacement technique," said Zore in surprise, recognizing the shinobi technique. "The woman, she gone," said Waraji when he turned around to Tsunade and saw that she was gone. "What the hell is going on here?" "Well, looks like Kushina-sensei was right on the money about what Gato would try," spoke a new voice, causing the two men to start looking around and try and find who had just spoken. When they turned around to look behind them, they saw a young blonde boy in a green outfit, putting Tsunade gently on the ground, all the while still holding on Inari. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" spoke Inari, as Naruto put him down. "Kushina-sensei always suspected that there was a good chance that Gato might try and kidnap you or your mom, so to use against your grandfather. Hence, she, Yamato-sensei or me, would take turns to hide in the trees and watch the house, in case Gato did try this," spoke Naruto. "Also, sorry I was late. When I saw those guys enter the house, I didn't want to fight them and there were your mom, and you could have been caught in the crossfire. So, I waited until they came out, but before I could act you came out charging," continued Naruto, where he then smiled at the young boy. "And I've to admit that you were pretty brave there, and you did great, as when you distracted them, it gave me the opening I needed to rescue your mom without them knowing." "Humph. This must be one of those shinobi brats that Tazuna hired," commented Waraji, when he saw Naruto. "Get him," spoke Zore, where he and Waraji redrew their swords and charged at Naruto. Seeing the two goons charging at him, Naruto quickly threw some shurikens at the men, who quickly blocked the shurikens with their katanas. But what the two wannabe samurai didn't know was that the shurikens were just a distraction, where Naruto suddenly appeared right in front of Zore and punched him in the gut while using his superhuman strength. After Naruto punched him, Zore was then sent flying into a large tree several meters and caused the tree to crash right on top of him. "What the?" thought Waraji when he saw what happened to his partner, but before he could think about it anymore, Naruto quickly spun around and delivered a powerful roundhouse kick and sent Waraji flying into the water a few meters away. When Inari saw this, he was of course shocked at Naruto's incredible strength, as he had taken out the two men with little to no trouble. With Inari and Tsunade now safe, Naruto then told Inari to take care of his mom, while he went to check up on his friends at the bridge, as he guessed that if Gato was trying to kidnap Tsunade, then he was no doubt making his move on Tsunade at the bridge. At the bridge. Clang, clang. Were the sounds that echoed around the bridge, where Kakashi and Zabuza fought one another. As the two Jonin shinobis broke apart from one another, Kakashi glanced slightly at the dome of ice mirrors that now surrounded Sasuke and Sai. At the beginning of the battle, Haku and Sasuke had fought each other in a fierce battle, where the two of them ended in a stalemate, with each of them blocking the other attack, where neither could use either jutsu, or at least that was what Sasuke thought. For as soon as they had reached this deadlock, Haku had revealed the ability to do one-handed hand seals, much to everyone, minus Zabuza's, surprise. Where after doing the hand seals, thousands of ice needles formed around them and floated in midair, ready to strike. Seeing that Sasuke was in trouble, Sai had moved in to help Sasuke, by appearing behind Haku, where he tried to stab Haku in the back with his tanto. Unfortunately though, Haku expected something like this, where before Sai could stab the young ice user, Haku quickly jumped into the air to avoid the stab, while at the same time firing the ice needles that surrounded Sai and Sasuke. Luckily though, thanks to the tree climbing exercise, Sasuke as well as Sai were able to avoid being hit by the needles, by channeling their chakra to their feet and jumping up high into air. After avoiding Haku's needles, Sasuke and Sai quickly went on the offensive, where Sasuke threw several shurikens and Sai used his Choju Giga, Super Beast's imitation picture, to create several lions. Seeing the attacks, Haku skillfully avoided them, but as soon as he did, he was put on the defensive as Sai and Sasuke attacked him from different direction. Eventually though Haku was beaten, where after avoiding a strike from Sai, Haku was sent flying by Sasuke, who had appeared next to Haku and delivered a strong kick to his mask-covered face. Naturally when Zabuza saw this, he had been surprised, as he never thought that mere brats could defeat Haku. But just when the two young Konoha shinobis thought they could win, Zabuza revealed that Haku had been going easy on them. After which Haku revealed his strongest technique, the Makio Hyosho, demonic ice crystal mirrors, where he created a dome of ice mirrors around them. Upon which Haku then merged with the mirrors and attacked Sai and Sasuke from all directions, making it virtually impossible for them to defend themselves. Kakashi had of course tried to help them, but Zabuza had intercepted him, forcing Kakashi to fight him. After glancing towards Sasuke and Sai, Kakashi quickly glanced at Sakura, who was staying with Tsunade to defend him, in case Zabuza somehow got by him, Kakashi, and went for the bridge builder. Seeing Kakashi glancing at his students, Zabuza smirked in amusement. I would be more worried about myself than those brats if I were you, Kakashi. At this comment Kakashi did not respond, but narrowed his one visible eye and readied himself to continue the battle. As Kakashi and Zabuza faced off against one another, Sai and Sasuke were having trouble with their opponent, where both were heavily injured, with several needles sticking in them. Both of them were also having trouble moving, due to several needles that were stuck in the acupuncture points of their bodies. Even after they pulled some of them off, the effects of being hit in the points by the needles were slow to leave. This the end for you both, please do not bear any ill will towards me, as I do this only because I must, spoke Haku sadly from the mirror. After which images of Haku appeared on all the mirrors, making it impossible for Sai and Sasuke to tell which one was the real Haku, and which direction the ice user would come from. Once the images of Haku appeared on all the ice mirrors, Haku then fired another barrage of needles at the two genin. But upon doing this Haku, Sai and Sasuke suddenly heard a familiar voice cry out Surashifu, wind slash. After which the top mirror that was directly above Sasuke and Sai shattered, where a crescent-shaped blade cut through it and made a large cut on the ground. After which a green blur suddenly entered the ice dome, and the sound of metal clashing with metal was heard. It was after this that Sasuke and Sai turned around to the side and saw another person standing next to them, who had defended them for Haku's assault with his now drawn katana. The person in question was none other than Naruto. So, it seems that we were indeed fated to meet as enemies, Naruto thought Haku sadly. Your time is quite impeccable, Naruto-san, spoke Sai, with some small ounce of gratitude, where Naruto just nodded. You should have just stayed outside the dome, dope, as you would have been if some use out there, spoke Sasuke, as he didn't want to admit that he owed Naruto one. TSK, I would have, but I had to save your sorry ungrateful team, scoffed Naruto, as he kept his eye on Haku, who had remerged with the ice mirror. So, I'm guess this is the guy who pretended to be the hunter Nin that killed Zabuza, right? Asked Naruto, where Sai and Sasuke just nodded in confirmation. Correct, and as you can see, he can use some kind of ice technique, spoke Sai. He's a Hayatan user from the Yuki clan of Kiri, then stated Naruto, surprising Sasuke and Sai and even Haku. You know about him? Asked Sasuke in surprise. Only bits and pieces, that I heard from Ero Sennin. From what I heard from him, the Yuki clan was a small clan in Kiri, who possessed a bloodline that allows them to use Hayatan, where they can create ice techniques that only they can do. Although until now I thought the clan was extinct, as the clan was said to have been wiped out a few years ago back when Kiri went under an upheaval, where people began to turn against bloodline-holding clans, because they feared their great power on the battlefield and because they believed that the bloodline holders were the cause of all the war and infighting that was going on in Kiri, spoke Naruto, which of course surprised his teammates when they heard this. You are well informed, Naruto-san, as you are indeed correct, and I'm indeed the last living member of the Yuki clan, spoke Haku. When Naruto heard Haku's voice, his eyes suddenly widened in recognition. Haku, is that you? At this, Haku let out a sad sigh before speaking. Yes, it is me, Naruto-san. When Haku said this, Naruto began to think over when he met Haku and remembered how the young Hayatan user had told him that he was looking for herbs for healing a friend that was injured. When he remembered this, he cursed himself for not noticing this earlier, and how he should have realized who Haku really was. You met him before, Naruto-san? Asked Sai. Sort of, back when I left the house to train, I met him, as he was picking herbs. I didn't know who he really at the time, so I helped him a bit, replied Naruto as he stared coldly at Haku. I would prefer not to fight you, Naruto-san, so I ask you only this one time, leave now. My object is only the bridge builder, not you. Can't do that, Haku. Tazuna hired Konoha shinobis to protect him, and as one I will protect him with my life, spoke Naruto as he raised his katana up, where both Sai and Sasuke nodded in agreement and smirked slightly, where they prepared to continue the fight. Very well then, but know that none of you'll leave this place alive, spoke Haku, before attacking with another barrage of needles. Seeing the needles, Naruto quickly turned his katana around, so that he was holding it backwards, after which he then told Sai and Sasuke to stay close to him. After which he then started to gather the water around him and spin around at a high speed, where he then cried out Senkai no Mizu, swirling water, and created a vortex of water around him and the others, protecting them from Haku's needles. Naturally, when Haku saw this, the young ice user was surprised, but as surprised as Haku was, Zabuza was even more surprised. He knew the technique and the style that it came from. That style. That's the Arasuijin no Mai, dance of the raging water goddess, fighting style, thought Zabuza in surprise as he recognized the sword style. But how on earth can a mere brat use that fighting style? Also, what was the technique he used to break Haku's ice mirror? It looked like some kind of wind technique. Just who the hell is that brat? Could he be actually a student of her? Once the water vortex around Naruto, Sai and Sasuke died down, Sasuke quickly turned to Naruto in surprise. What the hell was that? It's called the Senkai no Mizu, swirling water, technique. It a kenjutsu move that Kushina-sensei taught me not long ago, replied Naruto as he kept his eye on Haku, who was in front of him. Upon hearing this, Sasuke frowned again in frustration at seeing how even after a few weeks Naruto had become even stronger. Most impressive, Naruto-san, you're indeed skilled, just as I thought, spoke Haku. Naruto of course did not reply to Haku's praise, where he just readied himself for battle along with Sai and Sasuke, where after a minute or two they attacked. As the battle with the three genin and Haku waged, Zabuza and Kakashi continue with their battle, but soon enough they broke apart again from one another. After breaking away again from Kakashi, Zabuza quickly glanced over at where Haku was fighting Naruto and the others. When he looked over, he could see that despite their situation the three genin were able to still hold their own well. as whenever two of them went of the offensive, the third member would defend the others from any attacks from behind by Haku. Zabuza also saw that Naruto was actually able to do some damage to Haku Mirror Dome, much to his surprise, where Naruto had used his Surashifu to destroy several of the mirrors. But luckily though, Haku was able to reform the mirrors just as soon as Naruto destroyed them. Seeing this, Zabuza turned back to look at Kakashi and smirked slightly behind his mask. "That's quite the impressive brat you got there, Kakashi." "I'm afraid I can't take credit for him, Zabuza, as he isn't exactly my student, or at least not my full-time student," replied Kakashi, which made Zabuza frown, not fully understanding what Kakashi meant by that. "Well, even so, those three brats are as good as dead, as no one can escape Haku's technique." "Not even me," replied the confident Zabuza. "I wouldn't be so sure of that, Zabuza, especially when it comes to Naruto and Sasuke." "Oh, and what makes you so sure of that?" asked Zabuza, generally curious as to what Kakashi had such faith in Naruto and Sasuke. "Well, it quite simply really, since I know what both those boys are capable of, and you would understand as well if you knew who they really were," answered Kakashi. "And what exactly do you mean by that?" asked Zabuza. "Well, you see, both Naruto and Sasuke are the heirs of the two most powerful clans in Konohagakure, who founded it," replied Kakashi. At this, Zabuza's eyes widened in surprise when he realized what Kakashi was saying. "You mean?" "Yes, Sasuke's full name is Uchiha Sasuke, and the unique bloodline of the Uchiha clan runs through Sasuke's veins, and the Sharingan is his birthright," stated Kakashi before he continued on. "And Naruto's full name Senju, Naruto, sole heir to the Senju clan, the main founders of Konoha." "Ah. I had heard the rumors that a single young boy had survived the tragedy of the Uchiha clan. No wonder he advances so quickly. But I don't believe you on that other brat. There's no way that brat could be of the Senju clan, as that clan is extinct. The only actually living member is," spoke Zabuza confidently until it suddenly hit him, where his eyes widened in shock. "No. It's not possible." At this, Kakashi smirked behind his mask, seeing that Zabuza had realized the truth. "Oh yes, it is, as Naruto is the son of Senju Tsunade of the Sannin, as well as the direct descendant of the Shodame Hokage, Senju Hashirama, and the Nidame Hokage, Senju Tobirama." "Tsunade of the Sannin had a child?" said Zabuza in surprise, as he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "No wonder that brat is so strong, he the son of one of the Sannin." "Correct, and I tell you little something else about him," spoke Kakashi as he lifted his headband to reveal his Sharingan. "Naruto's potential surpasses my own." At hearing this, Zabuza's concerns grew as he was beginning to doubt Haku's chances to win, as Sasuke would be trouble enough. But given Naruto and his revealed heritage along with Sai, he was beginning to wonder if Haku could really win, especially after Kakashi stated that Naruto's potential surpassed his own. As Zabuza knew that Kakashi wouldn't say something like that unless he believed it to be true. "Blast, I can't afford to toy with Kakashi anymore, as I need to take care of the bridge builder and Kakashi now, and then help Haku. Not to mention, if I'm right about who trained the boy, given his kenjutsu style, some serious trouble is most likely on the way here," thought Zabuza with a frown. After which he used his Kirkakure no Jutsu to make the mist thicker and disappear, so that Kakashi could no longer use his Sharingan on him. When Kakashi and Zabuza recommenced their battle, Naruto and the others continued with their battle. As the battle raged in the ice dome, Sai quickly deflected several Senbon needles fired at him by Haku from one of the ice mirrors. But as soon as Sai deflected the Senbon needles, Haku appeared out of another one of the ice mirrors behind Sai, and tried to stab him with some Senbon needles in the back of the head. But before Haku could hit Sai, the young ice user suddenly heard Sasuke's voice cry out, "Katan! Gokaku no Jutsu, fire style, great fireball technique!" When Haku glanced to the left, the young ice user saw a large ball of fire flying towards him. Upon seeing the large fireball, Haku quickly avoided the attack, but after avoiding Sasuke's attack, Haku then saw Naruto appear next to him with his katana in mid-swing ready to slash him. Seeing this, Haku quickly spun to the left to avoid the slash, but even though Haku avoided Naruto's slash, the young ice user still received a slash mark on his mask. When Haku avoided Naruto's attack, Haku then quickly merged with another one of the ice mirrors, right before Sai's ink beasts could hit him. After avoiding both Sai's and Naruto's attacks, Haku quickly transported to a different ice mirror near Sasuke, and tried to attack the young Uchiha by using his high speed. But when Haku stuck, Sasuke spun around and blocked Haku's strike with his kunai, much to the young ice user's surprise. Impossible. There's no possible way that normal human eyes could keep up with my speed, so how did he see me coming? Thought Haku with surprise. Although Sasuke could not see Haku's face, he could tell that the young ice user was surprised. You're not the only special one here, spoke Sasuke with a smirk, where when Haku looked directly at Sasuke's face the ice user's eyes widened slightly in surprise, as he saw Sasuke's eyes. For instead of black eyes, Sasuke's eyes were now red with 2 tomos in his right eye and 1 in his left. The Sharingan, muttered Haku in surprise. It's not complete, but it's still enough to keep up with your speed, spoke Sasuke, after which he then tried to kick Haku in the side. But was unable to hit Haku, as the young ice user was able to jump back, but just as Haku avoided the kick, Naruto appeared from above him and attempted to slash Haku again with his sword. But once again Haku avoided Naruto's slash and merged with one of the ice mirrors. When Haku merged with the ice mirrors again, Naruto quickly glanced at Sasuke and smirked, pretty good moves there, team, and I see that you finally acquired the Sharingan. Yeah, now I can keep up with his moves, and you weren't too bad yourself there, Senju, replied Sasuke. After Sasuke said this, Haku then appeared in the ice mirror in front of them. It seems that I have greatly underestimated you all, especially you two, stated Haku, where the ice user looked at Sasuke and Naruto. I had no idea that you were of the Uchiha clan, said Haku when the ice user looked at Sasuke, before turning to Naruto, let alone that you, Naruto, were of the Senju clan, as I was under the impression that your clan died out. Well, you find that I'm full of surprise, Haku, replied Naruto with a smirk. Indeed, replied Haku, as the young ice user knew that he could no longer let this battle continue on. As the Makio Hyosho used up a great deal of chakra and took even more to maintain, meaning that if this battle continued much longer he would run out of chakra. Deciding to end this now, Haku quickly went on the offensive, where images of Haku once again appeared all around the 3 Konoha genin. After which a barrage of Senbon needles were fired from all direction, forcing Naruto and the others on the defensive. But even though Naruto the others were able to deflect most of the Senbon needles, they were unable to deflect them all, due to the sheer number of them and the speed they flew at. But what Naruto and the others didn't know was that this barrage of needles was just a distraction to keep them occupied, which allowed Haku to appear from the ice mirror directly above them and jump down between them. When Haku suddenly appeared behind them, the 3 boys quickly spun around to face their opponent, after sensing him. Unfortunately, though, it was too late for both Sai and Sasuke, as Haku quickly hit them with several Senbon needles, where both boys fell to the ground in a dead-like state. Naruto, although, was able to avoid being hit by raising his katana up in time, but when he did this, some needles were able to hit certain points in his arm, making it go numb and worthless and causing him to drop his katana. Seeing what happened, Haku quickly moved forward on Naruto so to finish the job on him and take advantage of his disability. Seeing this, Naruto quickly flipped backwards, just as Haku struck at him, where he then threw several shurikens at Haku, forcing the young ice user to jump back to avoid them, upon which Haku then merged back in with the ice mirrors. After forcing Haku back, Naruto then quickly went over to Sai and Sasuke to see how they were, where when he checked their pulses, he couldn't feel anything at first. But Naruto quickly realized that they were in a death-like state, much like Sabuza was in earlier on, when he saw the positions that the needles were in on their bodies. Sighing slightly in relief, Naruto turned around to face Haku, who had just appeared in one of the ice mirrors. Your friends are now dead, Naruto-san, and you are all alone, and you have lost the use of your right arm. You've lost this battle, spoke Haku, although became curious when Naruto just smirked. Can the act, Haku? You know as well as I do that neither Sasuke nor Sai are dead, they're just in a death-like state, just like the one you put Sabuza a while back, and you're no killer. As for my right arm being useless, I wouldn't be so sure of that, said Naruto, where he then pulled the needles out of his arm, and was able to move his arm again much to Haku's surprise. But how even if you pull the needles out correctly, the effects should still take hold of you for some time, spoke the surprised ice user. Well, let's just say that I heal fast and leave it at that, replied Naruto, as this was one of the rare occasions that he was glad he had the Kyuubi in him. I see, but even if you can use your right arm again, you still cannot win as you are alone, replied Haku. I wouldn't be so sure of that either, replied Naruto with another smirk, where the then did a single hand seal and cried out Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique. Where several dozen suddenly appeared around Naruto, much to Haku's surprise. Upon which Naruto then had all his clones attack the ice mirrors at the same time, reacting quickly to Naruto attempts to escape the ice dome. Haku quickly used the technique that projected images of him on all the mirrors and attacked the clones, destroying most of them within a few seconds. Unfortunately, Haku was unable to destroy all of them, where one of the Narutos was able to shatter one of the mirrors with his bare fist, much to Haku's surprise. Impossible! How can he have the strength to be able to destroy one of my mirrors with just his bare hands? Thought Haku with surprise, but quickly got over it. As the young ice user then quickly transported to one of the shattered pieces of the ice mirror that Naruto destroyed and emerged from it and attacked Naruto from behind and stabbed him in the back. But as soon as Haku had done this, Naruto puffed into smoke, revealing that he had been a clone. Realizing that he had been tricked, Haku tried to renter one of his mirrors. But before the young ice user could, he felt a hand grab hold of him, stopping him from moving. When Haku turned around, the young ice user saw that it was Naruto who had grabbed hold of him, upon which Haku realized that Naruto had used the clones not to break out of the ice dome, but as bait to lure him out of the ice mirrors. This is where it ends, Haku stated Naruto, where he then quickly raised his arm and used his enhanced strength, not at full power, and punched Haku right in his mask, causing it to break into pieces, as well as sending the ice user flying straight through the one of the ice mirrors and shattering it. After being sent through the ice mirror, Haku continued fly through the air a bit, due to the power that Naruto put in his punch, before crashing to the ground in a heap. Where after landing, Haku tried to pick himself up, but was unable to do, due to the punch that Naruto gave the young Yuki clan member. When Haku looked up, the ice user could see the ice dome falling part into pieces, due to him being out of chakra, as well as Naruto coming towards him, with his katana in hand. Forgive Zabuza-sama, I am no match for this boy, thought Haku sadly, as Naruto stood over him holding his katana in front of Haku's face. As Naruto held his katana over Haku's face, the young ice user spoke, "Why do you hesitate? Kill me. I've lost my purpose in living. I've failed Zabuza-sama. I am no longer fit to be his weapon." What kind of fucked up crap are you talking about? You're not a weapon, you're a human being, you have your own life and your own free will. Why the hell would you want to die, simply because I defeated you? Asked Naruto. What Haku was saying didn't make any sense. For the next few minutes Haku went on to explain his life in Mizu no Kuni, Water Country, and how when his father discovered that he and his mother were bloodline holders, he gathered a mob and killed Haku's mother and then tried to kill Haku, but were killed themselves when Haku accidentally used his bloodline to kill them. After which he roamed the cold streets of Kiri during the dead of winter, until he was found by Zabuza, and made him his weapon, thereby giving him a purpose in living again. When Naruto heard this, several different thoughts ran through his head as he was unsure what to say or think at what Haku told him. I can understand why you feel that you owe Zabuza after he took you in, but that still doesn't make it right that he views you and treats you like some kind of weapon, spoke Naruto. But is what I am his tool to use in whatever way he wishes, spoke Haku. Stop being such a baka, Haku, cried Naruto angrily, which surprised the young ice user. You're a human being, just like me, you're not a tool, you feel pain, you feel joy, you feel sorrow, and you have your own dreams just like me or anyone else. The only person that has a right to decide how you live your life is yourself, as it's your life, not his. As Haku heard this, the young ice user understood what Naruto was saying, but even still he was too loyal to Zabuza. If you say that I can choose how I live my life, Naruto-san, then I choose to serve Zabuza-sama as his weapon. As that is my purpose and my dream is to help him to achieve his dream, for he is my precious person, and I would gladly give my life up for him, so kill me now and be done with it. Ack! Cried Naruto in frustration. Damn it, Haku, I won't kill you, simply because you think you should die. At this, Haku could not help but smile kindly despite the situation he was in, as the young ice user could tell that Naruto was a kind individually and that the two of them were a lot alike many ways. But as Haku and Naruto were talking to one another, the two shinobis heard a cry of pain, after which the mist slowly began to die down, where they then saw Zabuza a pack of on top of Zabuza, biting deeply into his arms and legs, preventing him from moving. Also, at the same time they heard a large chirping noise, where when they looked they saw Kakashi holding his right hand, which was now covered in lightning. Shit's that Kakashi-sensei Raikiri, lightning cutter! Thought Naruto in surprise at seeing the jutsus with his own eyes for the first time. As he had heard about it from his godfather, as it was one of Kakashi's strongest moves, and was the advance form of his only originally jutsu, the Chidori, 1000's birds. He had also heard from his godfather that Kakashi had given the technique this name after he cut a bolt of lightning with it. Upon seeing that Zabuza was in trouble, as well as seeing that Naruto was monetarily distracted, as he was looking towards Kakashi, Haku quickly took advantage of Naruto's distraction and spun around, kicking Naruto off his feet and making fall onto his back, after which Haku then quickly got back onto his feet. But before he raced up towards Zabuza, Haku turned to look at Naruto sadly, who was still on the ground. I'm sorry, Naruto-san, if he had met at another time and in another place, I believe we could have been friends. But we're friends, Haku, spoke Naruto as he tried to stop the young ice user, as he knew what Haku was planning to do. At hearing this, Haku could not help but smile sadly before disappearing, and using the last of his chakra to create an ice mirror so to appear next to Zabuza. Damn it, Haku Yubaka, muttered Naruto as he got back up, where when he saw Kakashi racing towards Zabuza, he knew he wouldn't be able to stop Haku in time, leaving him with only one other option left, where he then started doing some quick hand seals. I'm going to be in some much trouble after this. This is the end for you, Zabuza, your future is death, stated Kakashi as held up his Raikiri and charged straight at Zabuza. But just as he was charging at Zabuza, Kakashi suddenly saw an ice mirror appear next to Zabuza, where Haku suddenly emerged from it and stood in front of Zabuza to shield him from Kakashi's attack with his own body. Kakashi of course could not stop or avoid Haku in time, and just when he was about to stab Haku right through the heart with his lightning-covered hand, he suddenly heard someone cry out, Suiton, Tapadama, water style, gunshot, where a large blast of water crashed right into him in the side and sent him flying sideways and onto the ground. Surprised by this, Haku and Zabuza both quickly turned to where the blast of water came from. When they did, they were surprised to see that it had been Naruto who had fired the jutsu. Naruto, what the hell are you doing? Why did you just attack Kakashi-sensei? Cried Sakura in surprise as both she and Tazuna had seen what had happened. I'm sorry, Kakashi-sensei, but I couldn't let you kill Haku. It wasn't right, spoke Naruto. Naruto thought Haku, as the young ice users didn't know what to think, as Naruto had just attacked his own comrade just to save him. Mohahaha, ha ha ha. Well, Kakashi, it seems that you were wrong again about me dying, spoke Zabuza as he looked over toward Kakashi, who was just picking himself up after being hit by Naruto's attack. And this time I was saved by one of your own students, continued Zabuza, where despite his injuries from Kakashi's ninja dogs, who had returned home, right when Kakashi charged at Zabuza. Zabuza lifted up his arm and took hold of his sword and pushed Haku to the side and charged straight at Kakashi. Seeing Zabuza was coming towards him, Kakashi quickly prepared to defend himself, but just as Zabuza had crossed half the gap between them, Zabuza suddenly found himself being wrapped around by a chain, which pinned him arms to his body and forcing him to stop. After which Zabuza found an unknown Konoha ninja standing behind him with a kunai against his neck. Nice timing, Yamato, spoke Kakashi as he greeted his comrade, who nodded. Zabuza-sama, muttered Haku, who was about to go help Zabuza, but before the young ice user could, he found the tip of a blade at his neck, where when Haku looked to the left, he saw Naruto standing next to him with a serious look that said not this time. When Zabuza saw the situation that he and Haku were in now, he knew they had lost, where he cursed himself several times over, as he had become too focused on his battle with Kakashi, that he had forgotten about Naruto-sensei's. Well, it seems that the big bad demon of the hidden mist was all talk just like I thought. You couldn't even kill a simple old man, spoke a new voice, where when Zabuza, Haku, Tsunade, and the Konohanins looked to the end of the bridge, they saw Gato along with 100 or so of his hired goons. Gato! What the hell are you doing here? Asked Zabuza angrily when he saw the greedy businessman. Isn't oblivious, I'm here to do the job you couldn't, as it's clear that you weren't up to the task, but it's just as well as I never planned on paying you to begin with, and since most of you are all tired out and hurt from fighting each other, my men will have no problem taking you all out. Gato, you piece of vermin! Cried Tsunade out angrily. Sticks and stones, Tsunade, sticks and stones. Besides, I suggest that you not resist, not unless you want that lovely daughter of yours to be hurt, as I sent my 2 best men to your house, and they should be here any minute now with her, sneered Gato. When Tsunade heard this, he was about ready to tear Gato apart, but before Tsunade could say or do anything, Naruto spoke up. If you're talking about those 2 wannabe samurai who you sent to kidnap Tsunade, then I guess I should tell you not to expect them anytime soon, as they're taking a long nap and won't be doing anything for a long time. Upon hearing this, Tsunade sighed with relief at his daughter being safe and planned to thank Naruto later. While at the same time Gato frowned at this information, as he had begun to wonder what was taking his men so long. Ha! It doesn't matter, as you're all going to die here, replied Gato with a sneer, before he turned back to his men. Alright you lot, I don't want a single one of them left alive, and there's a 10,000 Rio bonus for the man who kills the bridge builder, and a 50,000 Rio bonus for the head of Zabuza's brat, as I want him to pay for breaking my arm. At this the small army of thugs cheered loudly at the idea of being paid bonuses. When Zabuza heard what Gato said, he turned to Kakashi. It seems that our fight has come to an end, Kakashi, and we are no longer enemies. So, it seems, replied the Kapinin, where he signaled to Yamato that he could let go of Zabuza, as with Gato's betrayal, Zabuza no longer had a reason to be their enemy, and they were now on the same side. Yamato of course loosened the chain around Zabuza, letting him go, although did stay near him, on the chance that he might try something against them. Seeing Zabuza and the others were going to resist, Gato just sneered, as he was certain that with the number of men that he on his side, he would win. But before Gato could give the order to attack, an arrow suddenly flew right past him, barely missing his head. What the? Spoke the short businessman when he saw the arrow, and looked to the other end of the bridge, from where the arrow came from. When he looked, he saw all the villagers gathered at the edge of the bridge, right behind Zabuza, and the Konoha shinobis, and were being led by a young boy, who was wearing a stir-fry pan on his head like a helmet, and was holding a crossbow in his head. That's as far as you go, Gato, we're not going to let you take on step into our village, spoke Inari, where all the villagers behind him cheered, as they were all ready to fight to defend their home. Tsunade of course was amazed at the sight, as he never thought he would see something like this, as ever since Kai's death, the people of Nami no Kuni, Wave Country, had lost their will to fight. Yet now he was seeing his entire village here standing up to Gato and his men and willing to fight for their homes. But what shocked Tsunade even more was that it was his own grandson who was leading the villagers and rallied them to stand up and fight Gato. When he saw this, the old bridge builder could not help but wonder what happened to his grandson to cause this kind of change in him. At the same time, Naruto could not help but smirk at seeing Inari leading the villagers of Nami no Kuni against Gato. Nice going, Inari. When Gato saw this, he became furious at how the people of Nami no Kuni were raising up against him. He got even angrier when he saw that some of his men looked worried, as these weren't the same broken villagers that they had been used to dealing with. What are you lot doing? They're only a group old men and women, with pitchforks and rusted tools, being led by a brat, cried Gato, whereupon hearing this, his men regained what little courage they all had to begin with. Now kill them all and don't leave a sin, Eric, spoke Gato, but cried out in pain, before he could finish speaking, when a sword sprung out from his chest. After which the blade retreated back into Gato, where the greedy tyrant fell to the ground dead, in a small growing pool of his own blood. Finally, the bastard shut up, muttered the person who had stabbed Gato. When the men saw their leader fall to the ground dead, they immediately took notice of the person who had appeared out nowhere right behind Gato and killed him. The person in question was a tall attractive young woman, with long bright red hair, wearing an ANBU outfit and holding a long katana in her left hand. After stabbing Gato, the woman in question then quickly shunshin, body flickered away and reappeared right next to Naruto and Haku. "Nice timing, Kushina-sensei, but sure took your sweet time," spoke Naruto with a smirk when he saw his female sensei. Kushina of course smirked back at the remark, before speaking, "Yeah, sorry about that. By time we found Zabuza's hideout the entire place was empty, and we realized that he and Gato must have left to attack Tazuna and the rest of you, so we raced as quickly as we could here. But by the time we got here, we saw that Kakashi was about to finish off Zabuza, only to be stopped by you," stated Kushina, where she stared at her student with a serious look. At this, Naruto started to sweat a little with worry, as he knew he was in trouble with his sensei. Yeah, about that," spoke Naruto nervously. "We talk about it once things are settled here," interrupted Kushina with a serious tone, where Naruto just gulped, not looking forward to that talk. At the same time that this was happening, Zabuza was staring at the newly arrived Kushina intently. "So I was right, the brat is the student of the Baratie Shinka no Ikari, Bloody Crimson Fury. I knew he had to be, as she's the only one that could have taught him the Arasuijin no my fighting style," thought Zabuza. As he had heard of Kushina, back when he was still with Kiri and ANBU, she was especially famed in Kiri for the unique kenjutsu style that she created and used. Zabuza's attention although soon turned back from Kushina to the army of thugs that were in front of them, as the thugs were unhappy at how Kushina had just killed their meal ticket. Where the hell are we going now?" spoke one thug. "I say we kill this lot and take whatever is worth taking from the village," spoke another thug. "Yeah, and if we take Zabuza's head along with his partners to Kiri, maybe we can a reward for it," said third thug. "Dibs on the redhead there, as she looks like she could be fun," said the first thug, as he eyed Kushina with lustful eyes, which made the red-headed kunoichi feel dirty and want a shower. Upon hearing this, Naruto became furious, where he slowly walked forwards towards the thugs. Since being raised by two women for most of his life, Naruto had naturally had a strong hatred of rapists or those who abused or beat women. Hence, after hearing on what one of the thugs wanted to do to his sensei, not to mention what they were thinking on doing to Inari's home, Naruto wasn't planning on showing these guys any mercy. When Kushina saw Naruto walking forwards towards Gato's thugs, she called out to Naruto, telling him to stay back and let her and Yamato deal with them, as both of them were fresh and could easily deal with them. While Naruto and Kakashi were both tried from their battle and neither Sai nor Sasuke were in any condition to fight. Naruto of course ignored Kushina as she called out to him, and continued to walk towards the men. After walking a few meters away from Kushina and the others, Naruto stopped. Well, look at this boy, it seems that this brat is going to take us all on by himself," spoke one of the thugs, where the others just laughed. Naruto of course ignored the thugs' laughter and began to slowly crack his knuckles, whereupon seeing this, the Konoha shinobi quickly realized what Naruto was going to do. "He isn't going to do what I think he's going to do?" asked Sakura, slightly worried. "I'm afraid so," replied Yamato, with a slight sigh. "Oh boy," spoke Kushina. When Zabuza, Haku and Tazuna heard this, all of them had confused looks on their faces, along with most of the villagers of Nami no Kuni, as none of them could understand what the Konoha shinobis were talking about. "Hey Tazuna!" cried Naruto as he looked over his shoulder to look at Tazuna, "do you have any spare building material for the bridge?" "Yeah, plenty of it, why?" asked the old bridge builder. "Good, because I'm afraid that I'm going to be putting you behind schedule a bit," answered Naruto. At this, Tazuna became even more confused at what Naruto was going to do, but before he could ask what Naruto meant, one of the thugs suddenly cried out, "Enough of this crap, let's kill them." Upon which the 100 or so thugs charged forward at Naruto and the others. Begin Haimataro Tushar soundtrack. As the thugs came towards him, Naruto just smirked, where he then quickly channeled an immense amount of chakra inside his body, and a moment later gathered it into his fist. After which Naruto then slammed his fist into the ground and cried out Chikakohendo, Earthshaker Impact, and released the chakra into the ground, where thanks to Naruto's superhuman strength the entire section of the bridge that the thugs were on began shake, causing the thugs to stop in their tracks. After which, cracks began to appear on the bridge section, where the ground underneath the thugs' feet rose up, and the entire front section of the bridge fell apart into pieces into the water below, along with the thugs themselves, where many of them drowned due to either being unable to swim, or because large pieces of the bridge fell on top of them, while the rest quickly swam back to the boat from which they came from with Gato and quickly sailed away, never to come back. Naturally, after seeing this, all the non-Konoha shinobis were of course completely blown away at seeing Naruto destroying the entire front section of the bridge with just a single punch. When Inari and the rest of the villagers of Nami no Kuni saw this, every single one of their jaws literally hit the ground, while their eyes were the size of saucers. Tazuna himself was dumbstruck, where he planned to get himself plastered later on, as he couldn't believe what he had seen. Zabuza himself was equally as stunned, as he couldn't believe the strength that Naruto had, especially at so young an age. Unbelievable, the boy really is the son of Tsunade of the Sannin. Amazing, muttered Haku with a shocked look, as the young ice user still found it hard to accept that Naruto possessed that kind of strength and held it back during their battle. End Haimataro Tushar soundtrack. Figures brat had to hog all the glory for himself, muttered Kushina with an amused smirk, while her partner Yamato just sighed at what Naruto did, as he was getting more and more like his mother, where he would cause more and more excessive destruction. Kakashi himself let out a tired sigh after his battle, where he just sat on the ground and smirked behind his mask as he looked at Naruto. You certainly have a knack for the dramatics, Naruto, mused the copy Nin, as Naruto had ended this battle in a way that no one would forget it anytime soon. Several days later. The next several days after the battle on the bridge had been fairly calm in Nami no Kuni for Naruto and the Konoha Nin, with the exception of a few incidents. After the battle, both Kushina and Yamato spoke to Naruto about interfering with Kakashi's battle with Zabuza. When Naruto told them his reason as to why he attacked Kakashi, both senseis were somewhat understanding towards Naruto's plight and why he did what he did. But even still, Kushina and Yamato had to punish him, as things could have easily had gone wrong. Hence Naruto was giving several intense training regimens, along with helping with the building of the section of the bridge that he destroyed, as well as helping to heal and care for Kakashi while he recovered from his injuries and from using his Sharingan for so long. Kakashi of course made sure to milk as much as he could out of the situation, where he had Naruto wait on him nearly hand and foot, where the Naruto do thing likes, getting him something to eat or drink, as well as feeding him, having him hold up his Ika book, which Yamato forced Naruto to give back to Kakashi, and turn the pages for him, as well as many other things. Naturally Naruto had been fairly ticked off with how he was like Kakashi's slave, but knew he had little choice, given how he did technically attack him. But eventually Naruto reached his limit when Kakashi called him Nurse Naruto, after which Naruto then forced feed Kakashi with the worst tasting medicine that the copy Nin had ever tasted, thereby ensuring that Kakashi would never call Naruto nurse again. Kakashi of course was not Naruto's only patient, as he also has Sai and Sasuke, along with Haku and Zabuza, who despite being former enemies, were allowed to stay. Both Sasuke and Sai were of course bedridden for a couple days, due to being in the death-like state that Haku put them in with the Sinbon needles. When Sakura found them, she had naturally been distraught, when she knew that her Sasuke-kun was dead, and even tried to attack Haku, believing that the ice user killed Sasuke. Naruto of course stopped her and explained to her that neither Sasuke nor Sai were dead, and that they were put in the same kind of state that Haku had put Zabuza a while back, where once Naruto correctly pulled the needles out, both Sai and Sasuke awoke. When Sakura saw that Sasuke was alive, she naturally became teary-eyed and hugged Sasuke tightly, much to the young Uchiha discomfort, where he tried to get her off him. Naturally, after the battle of the bridge, things had been a bit unsettling for Tsunade and his family, when Naruto and the others brought the injured Zabuza and Haku into the house. This was of course understandable given how they had been hired to kill Tsunade, where the members of the family were of course nervous to be around Haku and Zabuza. Even after Kakashi and Naruto assured them that neither of Zabuza or Haku had any reason to harm the bridge builder or his family anymore. Eventually, though, things calmed down, where Tsunade even became friendly with Haku, where they two would often work together to make meals. But even so, not everyone was as forgiving towards Haku as Tsunade, as Sasuke still held a slight grudge against the young Yuki clan members, due to Haku defeating him. This defeat was made all the more bitter to the young Uchiha, when he learned that after Haku had knocked out him and Sai, as well as Naruto defeating Haku, and then later taking out Gato gang of thugs by himself. But even still, Sasuke took some solace in the fact that he finally awoken his Sharingan, where upon recovering he began to practice in using it, so that he could activate it when he wanted it. Haku injuries had been of course minor, despite the slight injury that Naruto had given the young ice user when he punched Haku in the head, where thankfully the mask had protected him from much of the harm. Naruto had of course offered to give Haku a full check over to make sure that the young ice user had no other injuries, but Haku stated that he was fine, and he could check himself over. Zabuza's injuries were of course a bit more serious, where much like Kakashi he was bedridden for a while, where the two men were left in the same room together. This was to make sure that Zabuza would not try anything, for even though Zabuza had no reason to go after Tsunade and his family, it did not state that he wouldn't try anything against Kakashi or the others, hence either Yamato of Kushina would always be on guard in the house, whenever everyone was gone to work on the bridge or asleep at night. "Well, Zabuza, it seems that you're healing quite nicely," spoke Naruto, after checking on the former mist swordsman injuries. "TSK. Yeah, well, when can I finally be able to move and get out of here, as unlike Kakashi over there, I don't like spending days on end lying down and doing nothing," spoke Zabuza, as he looked over at the sleeping Kakashi. "Well, I'm afraid you just have to bear it for a little while longer, as although you're healing well, your wounds can still easily open up, meaning you've to stay in bed for a while longer and rest," answered Naruto. Naturally, Zabuza was not pleased to hear this, as he wanted to be on the move as soon as possible, before Kiri's Hunter squads caught onto him and Haku. "Since you'll be with us for a little while longer, there is something I want to talk to you about," spoke Naruto. "What about?" asked Zabuza. "It's about Haku." "What about Haku? What is Haku to you?" "What do you mean?" "What I mean is, what do you think of Haku? Do you think of him as a friend, a comrade, or something else?" asked Naruto. "Haku is just a tool to me, a weapon that I use against my enemies, nothing more," replied Zabuza without any emotion, but as soon as he said this, Zabuza found a scalpel blade pointed right at his throat, with an angry Naruto standing over him. "You dare call Haku that again, and I swear I open you up and gut you like a fish, here and now," spoke Naruto in a deadly tone. Surprised but unafraid by Naruto's threat, Zabuza raised his eyebrow. "Why do you even care what I think of Haku? Better yet, why do you even care about Haku to begin with?" asked Zabuza. Since this was the second time that Naruto had defended Haku, the first being when he stopped Kakashi from stabbing the young ice user with his Raikiri. "Because Haku is my friend and I won't stand for anyone attacking or insulting my friends," replied Naruto, which surprised the former demon of the mist, at how Naruto called Haku his friend so easily. "You may be skilled, boy, but you're naive in the real world of the shinobi, as I'm merely using Haku's skill and power for my own use, just as Gato tried to use me," replied Zabuza. "So, mean to tell me that all those years you and Haku spent together, fighting alongside one another and traveling together, meant nothing to you?" spoke Naruto. "Because if you do mean that Haku means nothing to you, then you're an even bigger fool than I thought you were." At this comment, Zabuza did not reply and simply looked away from Naruto. When Naruto saw this, he became even angrier. "Why you? After everything Haku has done for you, he lived for you and was willing to die for you without a second thought, and yet you're telling me he meant nothing to you at all? Haku has given up everything just to help you achieve your selfish dream of becoming Mizukage, and you've never once considered letting Haku live his own life his way. You never let him have his own dream, or give him a choice in anything. You are probably the closest thing that Haku has to a family, and you treat him like a disposable tool instead of human being. That isn't right. Haku deserves better, you know it, and I know it. After saying all this, Naruto saw that Zabuza kept looking away him, refusing to look at Naruto. When Naruto saw this, he grew angry, but quickly got up and walked out of the room, refusing to waste any more of his time on the man. Once Naruto left the room, Zabuza remained silent for several minutes, going over what Naruto had said to him, and as much as he hated to say it. Naruto's words had gotten to him. They had cut deeper than any blade or injury that he had received over the years. As Naruto had been right, Haku did mean something to him, no matter how much he denied it to himself. Zabuza had also realized how badly he had treated Haku, and how Naruto was indeed right, and how Haku did deserve better. "He got to you, didn't he?" spoke Kakashi suddenly, causing Zabuza to turn to the copy nin. "So, you were awake?" stated Zabuza. "I'm guessing you heard everything?" "Pretty much," replied Kakashi with a slight smirk behind his mask, as it's not every day that one would get to see the famed Kirigakure no Kijin at a loss of words after arguing with a young genin. At this, Zabuza just scoffed and turned his back to Kakashi, who just smirked further, knowing that he was right about Naruto getting to Zabuza. He also guessed that Zabuza had a lot to think over the next few days now, after which Kakashi decided to leave Zabuza bin and closed his eyes to get some rest. A few days later in the early morning. As the early morning sun rose over the horizon, and it shone through the window of the room that Naruto, Sai and Sasuke were sharing. The rays of the sun shone down on Naruto's face, due to him being nearest to the window, where he slowly woke up. After fully awakening, Naruto looked out the window, and saw that it was going to be another beautiful day. Not wanting to wake either Sasuke or Sai, who were still sleeping, Naruto quietly sunk out of the room and headed to the bathroom to wash and change, as he wanted to do some early morning training before everyone else got up. When Naruto reached the bathroom, he quickly opened the door, believing that he was the only one up and that there would be no one in the bathroom. But upon opening the door, Naruto's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets in surprise, for when he opened the bathroom, he saw Haku stepping out of the shower with a towel being the only thing covering the ice user's body. Normally this would not be a surprise or be an issue with Naruto, but the thing that caught Naruto by surprise was the fact that the wet towel that covered Haku's body clung tightly around the ice user's body, showing two medium-sized lumps on Haku's chest along with a slightly curvy figure and long feminine legs. "Why yo Yuri a girl?" stuttered Naruto in surprise as he pointed at Haku. For a moment or two, the two of them just stared at one another, frozen in surprise, but that soon came to an end when Haku then let out a loud scream in horror, before the now revealed female Haku began to grab onto anything she could grab hold of and throw at Naruto, who did his best to avoid everything that Haku had thrown at him, although eventually Naruto was hit right between the eyes by a large bar of soap that Haku had thrown, causing the young Senju to fall backwards and out of bathroom. After which Haku then created several ice needles and sent them flying at Naruto, who couldn't avoid them in time, and was pinned against the wall behind him. Still in full feminine fury and outrage and not able to fully think on what she was doing, Haku quickly took hold of a plunger which was nearby and planned to beat Naruto over the head with it. But as soon as she stepped out of the bathroom and into the hallway, she found Tsunade, Inari, Tsunami, Sakura, Yamato, Kushina, Sasuke, Sai along with Zabuza and Kakashi, who were now well enough to walk around, standing in the hallway, hearing Haku scream and believe that they were under attack, staring at her towel-covered body. When the rest of the household saw the towel-covered Haku, the majority of the group, with the exception of Zabuza, were shocked at Haku being actually a girl, as they were seeing the same things as Naruto did when he entered the bathroom. Seeing that everyone was now staring her and Naruto in the state that they were both in, with Naruto in just boxers and a shirt and her in a wet towel, Haku's face quickly turned bright red, not unlike a certain Hyuga heiress. Upon which she quickly dropped the plunger she planned to beat Naruto with, and quickly ran into the bathroom and slammed the door shut behind her, at which point Kushina spoke out. Well, that was interesting, leaving everyone to have large sweat drops on the back of their heads, not knowing how to comment on what just happened. Eventually though, things calmed down from the escapade of the early morning, where the mortified Haku eventually came out of the bathroom, in her usual attire, although both she and Naruto had trouble looking at one another. As Haku was still very much embarrassed at Naruto seeing her right after she came out of the shower, while Naruto had trouble looking at Haku without turning red and remember seeing her all wet, as she came out of the shower and with just a towel, where it clung tightly around her body. When everyone asked why both Zabuza and Haku had played the whole facade of Haku being a boy, Zabuza explained that after he and Haku left Kiri, he had Haku tell everyone that she was a boy and had her dress the way she did, so to hide her figure, so to prevent any other noobnines that they might work together with from trying to harm Haku. At first the group had trouble believing it, but as they thought about it, it did make sense, where although Haku's voice and face did look feminine, she still kept her figure hidden, making hard for people to dispute whether Haku was a boy or a girl. Plus, given how most of them did believe Haku was a boy for most of the time, it showed that it did work, as most people wouldn't feel comfortable asking someone like Haku if she was girl after she stated she was a boy. Naruto himself was also slightly grateful that Haku really turned out to be a girl, as the idea of him being even momentarily attracted to a boy who looked like a girl creeped him out. Once the excitement of the morning died down, Zabuza later on took Haku away, stating that he had something important to talk to the now revealed female ice user about. The two of them of course did not return until several hours later, where Haku's eyes were buffy red as if from crying a lot, although instead of looking sad, she looked happy. She also then later went up to Naruto and hugged him tightly, and said thank you to him before giving the young blonde a kiss on the cheek, much to Naruto's and everyone's surprise. Naruto was of course confused by all this until Kakashi explained that seemingly his little talk with Zabuza had gotten through to the demon of the mist and seemingly had forced him to reevaluate his views on Haku, which was seemingly what he and Haku went off to talk about. When Naruto heard this, he was of course glad he gotten through Zabuza, and hoped that things would of course be better for Haku now. A week later. After almost 2 weeks since the battle on the bridge had finally been completed 2 weeks ahead of schedule despite the delay, when Naruto destroyed a section of it. This was of course thanks to the help of Naruto and the others, including Zabuza and Haku, who had decided to help, since they didn't have much to do, as they couldn't really leave the island until the bridge was finished. With the bridge now finished, the mission was finally over, where Naruto and the others would be heading back to Konoha the next day. As Naruto and the others walked back to Tsunade's home, Naruto decided to ask Zabuza something he had been wondering the past few days. So Zabuza, what do you and Haku-chan plan to now, with Gato dead? To be honest kid, I'm not exactly sure, as considering recent events, I'll have to rethink some of my plans, replied Zabuza, where he glanced at Haku for a moment and smirked a little. Although one thing will be for certain, neither Haku or I can stay here much longer, as Kiri's Hunterine squads are certain to come after us. But why don't you head back to Kiri? Asked Naruto. At this Zabuza looked at Naruto as if he was nuts. Are you insane? The moment that we step foot in Kiri, the Yondaime Mizukage will have our heads. Naruto of course tried to reply to this comment, but before he could, Zabuza and Kushina and even Sai suddenly drew their swords, while Yamato and Kakashi took out their kunais and Haku took out her senbon needles. Kakashi-sensei's what's wrong? Asked Sakura, not understanding what was going on. It seems that we've an unexpected visitor following us, answered Kakashi, where he put his senses on high alert, as he and the others had just sensed an unknown person nearby. Make that a group of unexpected visitors, spoke Kushina, as he or she has some friends with them. She right, spoke Zabuza, I can sense them. There are about 4, no, make that 5 of them, and given the way they got so close to us without us knowing, I would say they are at ANBU level. Agreed, spoke Yamato, as he could tell that the people that they were sensing were quite skilled. At hearing this, Sasuke, Sakura quickly drew their own kunais, along with Naruto, who drew his own katana, while Tazuna stood in the certain of the group of ninjas, where they all took a circle-like formation with their backs to one another. Soon enough, though, the identity of the unknown party was revealed, with four masked shinobis appeared on both sides of the groups, surrounding them. When the masked shinobis revealed themselves, Zabuza and Haku, along with Kakashi and his fellow jonins, Kushina and Yamato, realized that the shinobis were hunter nins from Kiri, due to their masks. "Shit. They found us quicker than I thought they would," thought Zabuza, before he turned slightly to Kakashi. "Kakashi, you and your teams should take the bridge builder and get out of here while you can, as they're after us, not you." Before Kakashi could respond to this, the fifth person that they had sensed earlier appeared in front of the group and spoke up, "That won't be necessary, Zabuza, as we aren't here to fight you." Upon hearing this, the group quickly looked towards the person who had spoken. When they looked forward, they saw the person in question was a middle-aged man, wearing the same kind of uniform that Haku wore, and had blue hair and a patch over his right eye, along with a talisman on each ear with the kanji for a humble form written on them twice on each side. "Ayo," spoke Zabuza in surprise, recognizing his former ANBU comrade, who was also the captain of the Hunter Nin division and was one of Kiri's best. "It's been some time, Zabuza," Haku spoke. "Ayo. So, the Mizukage has sent you after us." "I'm flattered," spoke Zabuza, and he raised his sword, as he had no plans on making this easy for Ao or his men, where if he was going down fighting, and would take as many of them with him as he could. "Take it easy, Zabuza, I told you already, we aren't here to fight you," spoke Ao. "If you're not here to kill us, then why are you here?" asked Zabuza. "We're here to take both you and Haku back to Kiri on the orders of the Godame Mizukages, as the Yandame Mizukage Yagura is dead," said Ao, which surprised the majority of the shinobi group, as none of them had heard of the death of the Yandame Mizukage or there now being a new Mizukage. After the surprise of this information sunk in, Zabuza then let out a low chuckle before he spoke. He. "Do you really think that I'm that stupid to fall for such a lame and obvious trick, Ao?" "It's no trick, Zabuza, as Yagura is indeed dead, as there was a coup d'etat, and he was overthrown and replaced by the Godame Mizukage," answered Ao. Before Zabuza could reply this, Naruto spoke up. "He's telling the truth, as I heard about it from Ero-sennin, a few weeks before I arrived in Konoha." When Zabuza heard this, he of course raised a non-existent eyebrow in surprise. "And why the hell didn't you tell us earlier?" "I tried, but I never got a chance to," retorted Naruto. As this was going on, Ao eyed Naruto with curiosity, as he wondered how a young boy like Naruto learned of the coup d'etat, but before he could think about Naruto more, Ao heard Zabuza addressing him. "So who exactly is the Mizukage now?" "Taromi Mei." Upon hearing this, Zabuza raised his non-existent eyebrows in surprise again. "Mei, she the Mizukage now?" Where Ao just nodded in confirmation. "Do you know her, Zabuza-sama?" asked Haku. "Yeah, I met her a couple times, back before I found you, Haku. She is a powerful and highly gifted kunoichi," spoke Zabuza, for as much as he hated to admit it, Mei was stronger than him. "But the thing that is most surprising about her is that she is a bloodline holder, or to be more precise, she's a dual bloodline holder, where she possesses both the Yoton, lava release, and the Futon, boil release, bloodlines." After hearing this, Haku along with the Konoha group were of course shocked, as none of them had heard of a dual bloodline holder. What was even more surprising was that Kiri of all places had elected a bloodline holder as their new Mizukage, especially given their past history when it came to bloodline holders. "So why exactly did they elect Mei as the Mizukage?" asked Zabuza. When the Yandame Mizukage was killed, the elders decided that to help heal the wounds of the bloodline purge between the remaining bloodline holders and the rest of the people, they would elect the Mei-sama as the new Mizukage, along with the fact that she was the strongest shinobi in the village. At this, Zabuza just nodded again. "So why does the Godame Mizukage want me to come back to Kiri? Does she hope to make a mark for herself by having me executed in front of the village?" "Hardly," replied Ao. "With you, Kisame and Raiga all gone rogue and the others members of the Mist Swordsman dead, the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shishininshu is practically non-existent, something that the Godame Mizukage wants to change." That's why she sent me to find you, as she wants to rebuild the Kiri no Shino Bigatana Shishininshu, and with you back in Kiri, it would be possible. Why me? Generally curious at how the Godame Mizukage was willing to overlook the fact that he once tried to take over Kiri for himself. Well, you, Kisame and Raiga, are the only surviving members of the Kiri no Shino Bigatana Shishininshu. Both Kisame and Raiga are out of the question in being allowed to return to Kiri, given their crimes. But you can be accepted back, since your crimes are only of revolting against the Yonde Mizukage, which can be forgiven, answered Ao. After hearing this, Zabuza didn't know what to think, for right now, he was being offered a chance to return to his village, where he would no longer be a hunted man. But if he accepted, he would then most likely have to give up on his dream on being Mizukage, but given his own situation now, the chances of him ever becoming Mizukage were highly unlikely. As Zabuza thought more on Ao's offer, he glanced at Haku and remembered Naruto's words on how he had never considered Haku when it came to the decision he made. He also knew that regardless of his own feelings, Haku would follow him anywhere without compliant. So, what is your answer? After much thought, Zabuza came to a decision. Fine, you got a deal. At this Ao just nodded, as he was pleased with Zabuza's answer, preferring not fighting the former mist swordsman, and would rather have him back on their side. When Haku heard Zabuza's answer, she was of course surprised by her master's answer, where he quickly turned to him. But Zabuza-sama, what about your dream? Some dreams are meant to just stay as dreams, besides for the past few years you've been helping me trying to achieve my dream. It's time that you've a dream of your own and live your own life as how you see fit, as staying on the run with me isn't a life for you nor one you deserve. And if that means I must give up on my dream on becoming Mizukage and return to Kiri, then it's a price I'm willing to pay. After Haku heard this, she didn't know what to say and her eyes became teary-like, but quickly wiped them away before they could fall. After which she then looked up at Zabuza and smiled, said thank you. With the matter of Zabuza and Haku returning to Kiri settled, the two groups headed back to the Wave Village, as there was going to be a party in the village in celebration of finishing the bridge and Gato being gone, where Naruto, Kakashi and all the others were all invited as honored guests. The next day at the newly finished bridge. The following morning, after the celebrations in the village ended, the two Konoha teams were about ready to head back home to Konoha. Tazuna and the villagers of Nami no Kuni were of course all there to bid farewell to them, along with Zabuza and Haku, who were accompanied by Ao and his team, as they would be leaving right after Naruto and the others left. Although not everyone was a clear head or as happy due too many people were suffering from severe hangovers due to drinking too much. Well, this is where we part ways. Thank you all for everything you done. We won't forget what we done for us, especially you, Naruto spoke to Tazuna. Not a problem, Tazuna, spoke Naruto, before turning to Inari. Make sure to take care of your Gramps and Mom Inari. Don't worry Naruto and I-san, I will, replied Inari with a smile. After saying goodbye to the villagers of Nami no Kuni, Naruto turned to Zabuza and Haku. Well, we be seeing you around, brat, spoke Zabuza. Yeah, I've been seeing you, but don't forget what we talked about, said Naruto, where he shook hands with Zabuza, who just smirked behind his mask and nodded, saying he wouldn't. Take care Naruto-kun, I wish you a safe journey home, spoke Haku, as the young female ice users shook hands with Naruto. You too, Haku-chan, I hope we met again soon and this time not as enemies. As do I, replied Haku with a smile, after which Naruto and the others started their journey back to Konoha. As Naruto and the others headed back to Konoha, one of the villagers suddenly spoke up, so what do you think we should call the bridge? How about the Bridge of Hope, as this bridge was the hope our country, spoke another villager, where many muttered in agreement. I've a better idea, I think we should call it the Great Naruto Bridge, in honor of the boy who helped save our country and helped give us back our hope and courage. Besides, I think the name would help bring good luck to the bridge, as I'm certain we be hearing many great things in the near future about that boy, spoke Tazuna, where everyone in the village quickly approved of the bridge's name. Zabuza and Haku of course both smiled at hearing this, as they both could not help but concur with what Tazuna said, as they were certain that they would be hearing great things about Naruto as well in the near future. After which the two of them, along with Ao and team, began their journey back to Kiri. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.